The stars had always been silent. For 300 years, humanity had looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. Now they had their answer, and it was terrifying. Admiral James Park stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, watching the massive alien ship appear on his screen. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ship was dark purple and shaped like a crescent moon. Strange lights pulsed along its surface like a heartbeat. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission," said his communications officer. "It is coming from the alien vessel." James Park was 62 years old. He had gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his whole life in the military, rising through the ranks during peaceful times. He never thought he would face something like this. He took a deep breath and said, "Put it on the main screen." The face that appeared was not human. The creature had pale blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth was small and lipless. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the ship's computer into cold, perfect English. "I am Ambassador Varth of the Galactic Concord. I speak for the High Assembly that rules the 12 great civilizations of this galaxy. We have watched your species for 2 of your centuries. You have grown beyond your small world. You have built ships. You have touched other stars. This was done without permission." James felt anger rise in his chest, but he stayed quiet. He wanted to hear everything before responding. Vorath continued, "The Concord has ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. We bring order to chaos. We bring peace to war. Every species that has joined us has prospered under our protection. Every species that has refused us has been removed." The word "removed" hung in the air like poison. "Earth will surrender all military vessels within 90 standard days. Your weapons will be dismantled. Your fleet will be destroyed. A Concord governor will be placed on your world to ensure your species learns proper behavior. This is not a negotiation. This is a decree. Obey, and you will live as servants. Refuse, and you will die as examples." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one on the bridge spoke. Then James Park turned to his crew. Their faces were pale. Some looked scared. Some looked angry. All of them looked to him for answers. "Send this transmission to Earth Command," he said quietly. "Every word, every image. Let our leaders see what we are dealing with." On Earth, President David Kim received the message 6 hours later. He was a small man with sharp eyes and a calm voice. He had been president for 3 years. He had dealt with economic problems, natural disasters, and political fights. But nothing had prepared him for this. He called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. The room was full of generals, politicians, and scientists. They argued for hours. Some said humanity should fight. Others said they should surrender. A few suggested running away to hide in distant space. General Roberts, the oldest military commander, slammed his fist on the table. "We have 200 ships. They showed us a fleet of thousands in their database. We cannot win a direct war." "Then we negotiate," said another voice. "We buy time. We build more ships." "They gave us 90 days, President Kim said. "That is not enough time to build anything." The room fell silent. Everyone knew he was right. Then a door opened at the back of the room. A woman walked in. She was tall, with short black hair and eyes that looked like they had seen too much. She wore a uniform that no one in the room recognized. It was completely black with no markings. "Who are you?" demanded General Roberts. The woman stopped at the end of the table and looked at President Kim. "My name is Rachel Stone. I am the commander of the Black Armada, and I am here to tell you that we are not as helpless as you think." President Kim stared at her. "The Black Armada? I have never heard of it." Rachel Stone smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "That was the point, sir. For 200 years, Certain leaders have known that we might face a threat from beyond our world. They built a secret fleet. Ships hidden in places no one would look. Weapons that no enemy has ever seen. 300 warships, Mr. President. All of them ready to fight. The room erupted in chaos. People shouted questions. Generals demanded to know why they had not been told. Politicians accused each other of keeping secrets. Rachel Stone waited for the noise to stop. Then she spoke again. The Black Armada was built for exactly this moment. We have been training for a war against a superior enemy. We have studied every battle in human history. We have developed tactics for fighting when outnumbered. We have created weapons that break the rules of warfare. Even with 300 ships, General Roberts said, we are still outnumbered 10-1, maybe more. Numbers are not everything, Rachel replied. The Concord has ruled for 50,000 years. They have never faced a real challenge. They have grown soft. They expect every species to surrender. They do not know how to fight an enemy that refuses to give up. President Kim looked at her for a long time. He was thinking about his children. He was thinking about every human being on Earth. He was thinking about what it would mean to surrender and what it would mean to fight. Finally, he asked, "What do you need from me?" Rachel Stone stood straighter. "I need you to send a message to the Concord. Tell them you need more time to consider their offer. Make them think we are weak and scared. Make them believe we will surrender. And while they wait, I will take the Black Armada into the darkness. We will hit them where they do not expect it. We will show them that humanity is not prey. We are predators." President Kim nodded slowly. "Do it." That night, deep beneath the frozen ice of Antarctica, 300 black ships began to wake up. Their engines glowed with blue fire. Their weapon systems came online. Crews that had trained in secret for years took their positions. Commander Rachel Stone stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UE Shadow. Beside her were her most trusted officers. Captain Daniel Lee was a tall man with a scar on his face from a training accident. He was the best weapons expert in the fleet. Maria Santos was their tactical genius, a woman who could see patterns in chaos. Thomas Wright was the chief engineer, a man who could fix anything with wire and willpower. Rachel looked at them and said, "The galaxy thinks we are children. They think we will kneel and beg for mercy. They are wrong. We are going to teach them what happens when you threaten Earth." The Black Armada rose from its hiding place. 300 ships flew up through secret tunnels in the ice, emerging into the cold night sky. They turned toward the stars and accelerated into the darkness. The war had begun. Admiral Keth had conquered 37 worlds in his long career. He had watched entire civilizations fall to their knees before his fleet. He had never failed. He did not intend to start now. His flagship, the Eternal Will, hung in space at the edge of human territory. Behind him floated 500 warships of the Galactic Concord. Their purple hulls gleamed in the light of distant stars. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Together, they could burn a planet to ash. Keth stood at the center of his command deck. He was tall for his species, with dark blue skin and eyes that glowed faintly yellow. His uniform was covered in medals from past victories. He had earned every single one through blood and fire. "Report," he ordered. His sensor officer looked up from her station. "Admiral, the human colonies in this sector have gone dark. We are detecting no communications, no ship movements, no energy signatures." Keth frowned. "They are hiding. Send scout ships to investigate each colony. Find where they have gone." The scouts launched and spread out across human space. They found empty stations and abandoned bases. Food was still on tables. Computers were still running. But there were no people anywhere. Millions of humans had simply vanished. "They have evacuated," Keth said. They are more organized than we expected. No matter. We will find them eventually. But something else was happening. Something Keth did not know about yet. 2,000 light years away, the Black Armada emerged from fold space behind Concord supply lines. Commander Rachel Stone studied the tactical display on her screen. It showed a Concord fuel depot floating alone in empty space. 20 transport ships were docked there, loading fuel for the fleet at Earth's border. No warships, Captain Daniel Lee reported. Just cargo vessels and a small defense station. Rachel nodded. They do not expect anyone to attack this far behind their lines. They think they are safe. She pressed a button on her chair. All ships, this is Commander Stone. We hit fast and we hit hard. Destroy the fuel depot and the transports. Leave nothing behind. But do not kill anyone you do not have to. We want survivors. We want them to spread fear. The Black Armada attacked like wolves falling on sheep. Their ships were painted in colors that absorbed light, making them almost invisible against the blackness of space. Their weapons were new and terrible. Gravity lances crushed metal like paper. Phase torpedoes passed through shields as if they did not exist. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, the fuel depot was a cloud of burning debris. 16 transport ships had been destroyed. 4 had been allowed to escape, their crews alive to tell the story of black ships that came from nowhere. Rachel watched the survivors flee into hyperspace. Good, she said. Let them run. Let them tell everyone what they saw. This was how the Black Armada fought. They did not meet the enemy in open battle. They struck from shadows. They hit supply lines, communication relays, and repair stations. They appeared without warning and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Over the next 3 weeks, the Concord lost 47 ships and 12 stations to attacks they never saw coming. Admiral Keth received reports of black vessels that moved faster than anything in the Concord fleet. His officers began to whisper about ghosts and demons. On the Concord homeworld, High Counselor Maven called an emergency meeting. She was ancient, even by her species standards. Her skin was like cracked marble, and her eyes held the weight of centuries. She had ruled the Concord for longer than most civilizations had existed. These reports are troubling, she said to her advisors. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to surrender. They will, said one of her generals. This is desperation. They are trying to delay the end. Perhaps, Maven replied. Or perhaps we have made a mistake. She studied the reports more carefully. 3 Concord destroyers had been found drifting dead in space. Their crews were alive, but unconscious. Every weapon on the ships had been removed. Every engine had been taken apart and left in pieces. The humans had not destroyed those ships. They had humiliated them. Maven felt something she had not felt in 1,000 years. Uncertainty. Meanwhile, Captain Daniel Lee led a small strike team on a different kind of mission. Deep in Concord space, there was a prison station where captured humans were held. Intelligence said there were about 200 prisoners there. One of them was very important. Lee's team traveled in a single stealth ship, slipping past Concord patrols in the dead zones between their sensor networks. They reached the prison station at midnight local time. We going quiet, Lee told his team. No explosions. No alarms. We get our people and we get out. They cut through the station's hull with laser torches and entered through a maintenance tunnel. The guards never saw them coming. Lee's team moved like shadows, using stun weapons and hand-to-hand combat to take down anyone in their path. In the deepest cell block, they found her. Lieutenant Grace Yoon was thin and pale from months of captivity, but her eyes were still sharp, and she smiled when she saw the rescue team. Took you long enough, she said. Lee helped her to her feet. We had other things to do. Can you walk? I can run if I have to. Grace Yoon was more than just a pilot. She had been captured during a border patrol mission, but instead of giving up, she had spent her time in prison gathering information. She had listened to guard conversations. She had watched ship movements through her cell window. She had built a picture of Concorde operations that no spy could have obtained on as they escaped the station. Grace told Lee what she had learned. Their fleet is controlled by a central network. Every ship receives orders from a command hub above their capital world. If we destroy that hub, their entire military loses coordination. They become blind and confused. Lee passed this information to Commander Stone. The commander listened carefully, then began to plan. Back at Earth's border, Admiral Kath received more reinforcements. His fleet now numbered 2,000 ships. He was tired of waiting. He was tired of reports about ghost ships and shadow attacks. He wanted to end this war. He broadcast a message to Earth. You have 72 hours. Surrender your planet and your people, or I will reduce your world to burning rock. There will be no more warnings. There will be no more chances. Decide. President David Kim received the message. He looked at the images of the massive alien fleet. He thought about the billions of lives depending on his choice. Then he sent a message to Commander Stone. They are coming, he said. Whatever you are planning, do it now. Rachel Stone gathered her captains in the war room of the UE Shadow. She showed them the Concorde command hub. It was a massive station surrounded by the largest defensive fleet ever assembled. 10,000 ships protected it. The odds were impossible. This is our target, she said. We destroy this station and their empire falls apart. We lose this battle and humanity dies. I am not going to lie to you. Most of us will not come back. But if we succeed, our children will live free. She looked at their faces. Some were scared. Some were determined. All of them nodded. Then let us show them what humans can do, Rachel said. The Black Armada gathered its strength. 300 ships against 10,000. It was madness. It was suicide. It was their only chance. They jumped into fold space and disappeared into the darkness, heading for the heart of enemy territory. The final battle was coming. The Black Armada emerged from fold space in the heart of Concorde territory. 300 human ships appeared against a sky filled with enemies. 10,000 Concorde vessels surrounded their sacred capital world, the center of their 50,000-year empire. For a moment, nothing moved. The Concorde defenders stared at their sensors in disbelief. No one had ever attacked their homeworld. No one had ever been crazy enough to try. Commander Rachel Stone stood on the bridge of the UE Shadow. She looked at the wall of enemy ships before her. She felt no fear, only cold determination. All ships, she said calmly. Light them up. The Black Armada opened fire. Human weapons were different from anything the Concorde had faced before. Gravity lances bent space itself, crushing enemy shields like they were made of glass. Phase torpedoes flickered through matter, appearing inside enemy ships before exploding. Electronic warfare systems sent false signals that made Concorde ships fire on their own allies. The first wave of Concorde defenders fell apart in minutes. Ships exploded in chains of fire. Others spun out of control, their navigation systems destroyed by human hackers. The organized wall of defenders became a cloud of chaos, but there were too many of them. For every Concorde ship that died, 10 more took its place. They began to regroup, adjusting to human tactics. Their return fire started to find targets. The U's Valor was the first Black Armada ship to fall. It took a direct hit from a Concorde battleship's main cannon. The human vessel broke in half, its crew of 200 dying in seconds. Rachel watched it on her screen and said nothing. Rachel watched it on her screen and said nothing. There was no time for grief. Push forward, she ordered. Do not stop. Do not slow down. The battle became a nightmare of fire and metal. Human ships weaved through enemy formations, too fast to hit easily, but taking damage with every passing minute. The UES Iron Will lost its engines and drifted into the crossfire. The UES Silent Hunter was rammed by a Concorde destroyer in a suicide attack. Captain Daniel Lee commanded the boarding teams. He had been waiting for this moment. 3 human assault ships punched through the shields of a Concorde carrier and attached to its hull. Lee led 50 Marines through the breach, fighting hand-to-hand through alien corridors. The Concorde soldiers were bigger than humans. They were stronger, but they fought like they were following a manual. They did everything by the rules. Lee's Marines did not fight by any rules. They used tricks and traps. They created confusion. They turned every corner into an ambush. Lee found the carrier's bridge and killed the captain himself. He took control of the ship's weapons and turned them against the Concorde fleet. One carrier began firing on its own allies, adding to the chaos. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Thomas Wright worked miracles on the UES Shadow. Enemy fire had damaged their shields 3 times. The main engine had failed twice. Wright kept the ship alive through sheer willpower, rerouting power from non-essential systems and making repairs while the battle raged around him. "We need 30 more minutes," Rachel told him. "I will give you 30 years if I have to," Wright replied. Lieutenant Grace Yoon led a squadron of 60 fighters through the chaos. Her mission was simple but nearly impossible. She had to clear a path to the command hub. The station was protected by a dedicated shield network. 3 generator stations created an overlapping barrier that nothing could penetrate. Yoon's squadron dove toward the first generator. Concorde fighters swarmed to intercept them. The space between the 2 forces filled with weapons fire. Human pilots died. Concorde pilots died. The fighting was brutal and fast. Yoon lost half her squadron in the first attack run, but they destroyed the first generator. The second attack run cost her another 15 pilots. The second generator fell. By the time they reached the third generator, Yoon had only 8 fighters left. "We are out of missiles," one of her pilots reported. "Then we use our ships," Yu replied. She ordered her squadron to ram the generator. 7 pilots refused to follow that order. They flew away, trying to escape. Yoon did not blame them, but she kept going. At the last moment, she fired her ejection seat. Her fighter slammed into the generator at full speed. The explosion lit up the sky. The third generator died. The shields around the command hub flickered and fell. Rachel Stone saw her chance. She turned the UE Shadow toward the station and pushed the engines to maximum. Every Concorde ship in range turned to stop her. The Shadow took hit after hit. Armor melted. Systems failed. Crew members died at their stations. "All hands abandon ship," Rachel ordered. "Get to the escape pods." "That is an order." Her bridge crew looked at her. Captain Lee, who had just returned from the carrier assault, shook his head. "We are not leaving you. This ship is going to crash into that station. I am not asking any of you to die with me." Thomas Wright walked up from the engine room, burns covering his arms. "With respect, Commander, we did not come this far to leave now. We finish this together." Rachel looked at them. These people had followed her into impossible darkness. They had fought beside her when the whole galaxy said humanity should surrender. She loved them like family. "Then hold on," she said. "This is going to hurt." The U-Shadow accelerated toward the command hub. Concorde ships tried to block its path. The Shadow plowed through them, taking damage that would have destroyed any normal vessel. Fire burned through the corridors. Explosions rocked the hull. But the ship kept moving. At the last moment, Rachel activated the emergency transport system. It was experimental technology that had never been tested in combat. It scanned her body, copied her mind, and transmitted the data to a backup facility light years away. If it worked, she would wake up in a clone body. If it failed, she would simply die. The UES Shadow hit the command hub at full speed. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. The station, which had stood for 10,000 years, broke apart in a ball of fire. The blast wave destroyed 100 ships that were too close to escape. The sky burned orange and red. And then something strange happened. Every Concorde ship in the system stopped fighting at the same moment. Their movements became confused and random. Some ships crashed into each other. Others simply drifted, doing nothing. The central command network that controlled the entire Concorde military was gone. High Counselor Maven watched from her palace on the planet below. She saw her fleet dissolve into chaos. She saw human ships, damaged but still fighting, tear through her disorganized defenders. She had lived for thousands of years. She had seen empires rise and fall. But she had never seen anything like this. For the first time in her long life, Maven felt true fear. The Black Armada had lost 188 ships. More than half their fleet was gone. Thousands of human lives had been spent. But they had won. Far away, on a medical frigate hidden in deep space, Rachel Stone opened her eyes. The clone body felt strange and new. Every part of her hurt from the neural transfer. But she was alive. A medic stood over her. "Commander? Can you hear me?" Rachel sat up slowly. "Did we do it? Is the station destroyed?" The medic smiled. "Yes, Commander. The command hub is gone. The Concorde fleet is broken." Rachel closed her eyes and let herself breathe. They had done the impossible. They had reached into the heart of an empire and torn it out. Now they had to finish what they started. "Get me a ship," she said. "The war is not over yet." News of the command hub's destruction spread across the galaxy like fire. For 50,000 years, the Concorde had ruled with absolute power. Now that power was broken, on 100 different worlds, species that had been conquered long ago saw their chance. Rebellions erupted everywhere. Slaves rose against their masters. Soldiers refused to follow orders from an empire that was falling apart. The galaxy was burning, and the flames grew higher every day. Admiral Keth received the news while his fleet waited at Earth's border. His communications officer handed him the report with shaking hands. Keth read it 3 times before he believed it. "The command hub is destroyed," he said quietly. "The High Council has gone silent. We have received no new orders." His officers looked at each other. Without orders from the Central Command, they did not know what to do. For their entire lives, they had been told what to think and how to act. They had never made their own decisions. "Admiral," one of them asked, "what should we do?" Keth stared at the stars. He thought about his career, his victories, his reputation. He had never lost. He had never retreated. The idea of failure made him feel sick. "We attack," he said. "We burn Earth to ash. We show the galaxy that the Concorde is not finished." Some of his officers wanted to argue. They wanted to say that attacking without orders was against regulations. But Keth's eyes told them to stay silent. The Admiral had made his choice, and nothing would change his mind. 2,000 Concorde ships moved toward Earth. President David Kim watched them come. The planetary shields hummed with power, but he knew they could not last forever. Earth had only 30 defense ships. They were brave, but they were not enough. "How long until the shields fail?" he asked his military advisor. 6 hours of heavy bombardment. Maybe less. Kim looked out the window of his office. He could see children playing in a park below. He could see people walking to work, living their normal lives. They were trusting him to protect them. "Contact Commander Stone," he said. "Tell her we need help now." The message raced across space. 3 hours later, the Black Armada arrived. They came out of fold space behind the Concorde fleet. 112 ships, battered and scarred from the battle at the command hub. They were outnumbered almost 20-1. But they had won impossible battles before. Rachel Stone broadcast a message to the Concorde fleet. "This is Commander Stone of United Earth Navy. Turn your ships around and leave our space. If you do not, we will destroy you." Admiral Keth laughed when he heard it. 100 ships against 2,000? They are insane. "Admiral," his sensor officer said, "these are the black ships. The ones that attacked our supply lines. The ones that destroyed the command hub." Keth stopped laughing. He had heard the stories. He had read the reports. But he was too proud to show fear. "Attack them," he ordered. "Crush them like insects." The Battle of Earth began. Human ships moved differently than any fleet Keth had ever fought. They did not form neat lines or follow predictable patterns. They swarmed like angry bees, attacking from every direction at once. They concentrated their fire on single targets, destroying ships one by one with brutal efficiency. The Concorde fleet was huge, but it was also confused. Without the command network, every captain had to make their own decisions. Some ships acted too slowly. Others acted too fast. They got in each other's way and blocked each other's shots. Captain Daniel Lee led 3 ships in a direct assault on the Eternal Will. He wanted Keth. He wanted to end this war by cutting off its head. Keth's flagship was massive, bigger than a human aircraft carrier. Its shields were the strongest in the fleet. Lee's attack seemed hopeless, but Lee did not care about the odds. He had lost friends at the command hub. He had watched good people die for this mission. He was going to make their deaths mean something. His ships hit the Eternal Will with everything they had. Gravity lances tore at the shields. Phase torpedoes hammered the hull. The great ship shook under the assault. "Shields failing," one of Lee's officers reported. "We have a breach." "Then we board," Lee said, his ship attached to the Eternal Will's hull. Lee led 50 Marines through the breach, fighting through corridors filled with enemy soldiers. The Concorde crew fought hard, but they were not prepared for close combat. They relied on their ships to win battles. They did not know how to fight with their hands and their hearts. Lee reached the bridge after 2 hours of brutal fighting. He had lost half his Marines. He was wounded in 3 places. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. But he was still standing. Admiral Keth waited for him. The alien commander was tall and strong. He held a weapon that glowed with energy. "You cannot win," Keth said. "Even if you kill me, the Concorde will send more ships. We have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. We will not fall to creatures like you." Lee smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "You should have studied our history. We have been killing empires since we learned to walk." They fought. Keth was fast and skilled. Lee was faster and angrier. The battle lasted only minutes. In the end, Lee stood over Keth's body, breathing hard. "That was for everyone you killed," Lee said. Outside, the battle was ending. The Concorde fleet was falling apart. Without their admiral, without their command network, the enemy ships lost the will to fight. Some fled into hyperspace. Others surrendered. Those who kept fighting were destroyed without mercy. When the last enemy ship fell silent, Rachel Stone broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. "We did not start this war," she said. "We did not ask for this war. But we finished it. The Concorde threatened to burn our world and kill our children. They failed. Any species that stands with the Concorde will be treated as enemies. Any species that wants freedom will find us as allies. The choice is yours. High Counselor Maven watched the broadcast from her palace. Her empire was crumbling around her. Rebellions were spreading. Her fleet was broken. She had only one option left. She sent a peace delegation to Earth, but not everyone in the Concord wanted peace. In a secret base on the edge of known space, General Torvak listened to Maven's surrender with disgust. He was old and bitter and full of hate. He had spent his whole life believing that the Concord was superior to all other species. The idea that humans had defeated them made him want to scream. "We still have one weapon," he told his loyal followers. The silence. The old weapon. The planet killer. His officers looked nervous. "General, that weapon has not been used in 10,000 years. It is too dangerous. If we fire it, we might start a chain reaction that destroys entire systems." "I do not care," Torvak said. "If we cannot rule this galaxy, we will burn it. Starting with Earth." He gave the orders. In the darkness between stars, an ancient weapon began to wake up. It was the size of a small moon, covered in devices that could focus the energy of a sun into a beam of pure destruction. It had been built to destroy civilizations. Now it was pointed at Earth. On the human homeworld, people celebrated their victory. They did not know that death was already moving toward them, but Rachel Stone knew. Her intelligence network had found whispers of the weapon. She gathered her remaining ships and prepared for one last mission. "We saved Earth once," she told her crew. "Now we have to save it again." The Black Armada, reduced to less than 100 ships, headed into the darkness to face a weapon that could kill worlds. The silence moved through space like a nightmare made real. It was a weapon from an age when the Concord had been young and savage, before they learned to rule through fear instead of fire. The ancient machine was the size of a small moon, its surface covered with towers that could focus energy into a beam, capable of igniting stars. Lieutenant Grace Yoon had found it first. Her intelligence network, built during her months as a prisoner, had caught whispers of General Torvak's plan. Now she tracked the weapon as it crawled toward Earth, counting down the hours until humanity's destruction. 48 hours, she reported to Commander Stone. "That is how long we have before it reaches firing range." Rachel Stone studied the images on her screen. The silence was protected by 300 Concord ships, crewed by Torvak's most loyal followers. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were fanatics who believed humanity had to die. "We have 97 ships," Captain Daniel Lee said. "Most of them are damaged. We lost our best weapons at the command hub and on Earth." "Then we use what we have," Rachel replied. "We do not have the option to fail." The Black Armada gathered for its final mission. The ships that had survived 2 major battles formed up around their flagship. Crews that had been fighting for weeks without rest prepared for one more attack. They were tired. They were wounded. But they were not finished. Chief Engineer Thomas Wright worked through the night to repair their damaged vessels. His hands were burned from previous repairs. He had not slept in 3 days. But he kept working, because everyone was counting on him. "The engines will hold," he told Rachel. "The weapons will fire. I cannot promise anything else." "That is enough," she said. "That is all we need." The journey to intercept the silence took them through dangerous space. They passed through systems where Concord loyalists still held power. They avoided patrol fleets and sensor networks. They moved like ghosts, invisible until they wanted to be seen. Grace Yoon led the scouts. She had been given a new fighter after her old one was destroyed at the command hub. She flew ahead of the fleet, mapping enemy positions and finding safe routes through hostile territory. On the second day, they ran into trouble. A Concord patrol fleet of 50 ships blocked their path. There was no way around them. "We cannot afford a fight," Lee said. "We need every ship for the assault on the Silence." Rachel thought for a moment. Then she smiled. "We will not fight them. We will convince them to let us pass." She broadcast a message to the patrol fleet's commander. "This is Commander Stone of the Human Black Armada. We are not here to fight you. We are here to stop General Torvak from destroying your galaxy with an ancient weapon. You can try to stop us and die for a madman, or you can let us pass and live to see tomorrow. Choose." The patrol commander hesitated. He had heard stories about the Black Armada. He had seen the reports of their impossible victories. He did not want to die for Torvak's revenge. "Let them through," he ordered his fleet. The Black Armada passed without firing a single shot. They reached the Silence with 6 hours to spare. The ancient weapon hung in space, its towers glowing with building energy. Around it, 300 Concord ships formed a defensive sphere. General Torvak commanded from the weapon's core, surrounded by soldiers who would die before they surrendered. Rachel gathered her captains one last time. "The weapon is too large to destroy with conventional weapons. We need to get inside and trigger its self-destruct system. That means boarding it while fighting through a defensive fleet. The odds are not good," Lee said. "They never were," Rachel replied. "But we are still here." The final battle began with a scream of engines and a storm of weapons fire. Human ships dove toward the Silence, drawing enemy fire away from the boarding teams. The Concord defenders fought with desperate fury. They knew this was their last chance to destroy Earth. Grace Yoon led a squadron of 30 fighters through the chaos. Her mission was to destroy the shield generators protecting the Silence. Without shields, boarding ships could land on its surface. She had done this before at the command hub. She had lost almost everyone. This time would be different. This time she would not fail. Her fighters attacked the first generator under heavy fire. 10 of them died in the first minute. The rest kept going. Yoon herself took a hit that destroyed her left engine. She kept flying on one engine, refusing to retreat. The first generator exploded. Then the second. Then the third. "Shields are down," she reported. Go now." Boarding ships carrying Daniel Lee and 200 Marines raced toward the Silence. Concord fighters tried to stop them. Human warships threw themselves in the way, taking hits meant for the boarding teams. The U.E.'s Courage exploded, protecting Lee's ship. The U.E.'s Honor lost its bridge to enemy fire, but kept shooting until its last gun fell silent. Lee's ship crashed through the Silence's outer hull and landed in a maintenance bay. His Marines poured out, weapons ready. The fighting started immediately. Torvak's soldiers were waiting for them. They had fortified every corridor, every room, every junction. The humans had to fight for every meter of ground. Bodies piled up on both sides. Lee pushed forward. He had lost count of how many enemies he had killed. He had stopped feeling the wounds on his body. He had stopped thinking about anything except the mission. The path to the control center was long and bloody. Lee's 200 Marines became 100, then 50, then 30. By the time they reached the final door, only 12 remained. "This is it," Lee said. "On the other side of this door is Torvak and the controls for the self-destruct. We go in hard and fast. Do not stop until the weapon is destroyed." They blew the door and charged through. General Torvak was waiting for them. He was ancient, his blue skin wrinkled with age, but his eyes burned with hate. Around him stood his personal guard, the best soldiers in his fleet. The final fight was brutal. Lee's Marines attacked with everything they had. Torvak's guards fought with fanatical fury. Bodies fell on both sides. The room filled with smoke and blood. Lee fought his way to Torvak himself. The old general was stronger than he looked. They struggled over Torvak's weapon, crashing into walls and consoles. Lee was faster, but Torvik was desperate. Then Rachel Stone appeared. She had followed the boarding teams in her own ship. She had fought through the corridors behind Lee's Marines. Now she stood in the doorway of the control room, a weapon in her hand. "It is over, Torvik," she said. "Your fleet is dying. Your weapon will never fire. Surrender." Torvik laughed. It was an ugly sound, full of madness. "You think you have won? I will never let you win. If I cannot destroy your world, I will destroy everything." He reached for the main console. His hand moved toward a control that would overload the weapon's core, creating an explosion that would destroy the entire system. Rachel shot him. The blast hit Torvik in the chest. He fell back against the console, blood spreading across his uniform. But he smiled as he died. "Too late," he whispered. Alarms screamed through the station. The weapon's core was overloading. They had 5 minutes before everything exploded. "Everyone out!" Lee shouted. The survivors ran for the boarding ships. Rachel and Lee were the last to leave the control room. They sprinted through corridors as explosions rocked the station around them. They reached the last boarding ship with 30 seconds to spare. Lee threw Rachel inside and jumped in after her. The ship launched just as the silence began to tear itself apart. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. The ancient weapon, which had threatened to destroy humanity, became a ball of fire that lit up the darkness like a new sun. The Concorde ships too close to escape were caught in the blast. The rest fled into hyperspace, their will to fight finally broken. Rachel watched the explosion through the ship's window. She was bleeding from a wound on her side. She was exhausted beyond words. But she was alive. "Did we do it?" she asked. Lee nodded. "The weapon is gone. Earth is safe." Rachel closed her eyes. Then it was worth it. On Earth, President David Kim watched the distant flash of light. He had been waiting for hours, not knowing if humanity would survive. When the message came that the Black Armada had succeeded, he wept with relief that the war was truly over. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed forever. The Galactic Concorde dissolved. The species that had been conquered found their freedom. Some built their own civilizations. Others joined together in new alliances. The old order was gone. High Counselor Maven surrendered herself to human custody. She was old and tired and ready to face justice for the crimes of her empire. President Kim granted her mercy, allowing her to live out her remaining years in peace. It was not forgiveness, but it was an end. Commander Rachel Stone retired to a quiet colony world. She planted a garden and watched the stars at night. The nightmares came sometimes, memories of fire and death and impossible choices. But she also remembered the faces of those who had survived because of her. That made it bearable. Captain Daniel Lee took command of a new fleet. Not warships this time, but exploration vessels. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy. Now, it was time to discover what else was out there. Lieutenant Grace Yoon became an ambassador. She traveled to dozens of worlds, building bridges between Earth and the species that wanted peace. She was good at it. She had learned during her time as a prisoner that talking could sometimes achieve what fighting could not.